remain standing for the reading of Scripture. Our message today comes from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11. When John heard in prison what the Messiah was doing, he sent word by his disciples and said to him, "Are you the one who is to come, or are we to wait for another?" Jesus answered them, "Go and tell John what you see and what you hear. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, those with a skin disease are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have good news brought to them. And blessed is anyone who takes no offense at me." As they went away, Jesus began to speak to the crowds about John. "What did you go out into the wilderness to look at? A reed shaken by the wind? What then did you go out to see? Someone dressed in soft robes? Look, those who wear soft robes are in royal palaces. What then did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is the one about whom it is written, 'See, I am sending my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare your way before you.' Truly I tell you, among those born of woman, no one has arisen greater than John the Baptist. Yet the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he." The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Please be seated. My friends, it is a delight to be with you on this very fine Advent morning. During Advent, we started a sermon series, which is really the filter by which I'm going to think through all the sermons throughout the next year. And that series is called Rooted and Renewed. On the cover of your order of worship, you see a tree with roots and life growing. Peachtree is celebrating its centennial year this year, and it gives us a strong sense of our profound rootedness. But as always, with anything with deep roots, we are still reaching for renewal and new life. This season, pray with us and walk with us as we not only look to the past, but to the future. One of the things that we're looking forward to this coming year is plans for growth. And I want to say this before we think more deeply about this text. The truth of the matter is, people will go to church more often than not by being invited by a friend. That's just true. Better than social media posts and signs up on highways. Just bringing someone with you has more effect, and better effect, actually, than just hoping someone turns out. Well, I want to encourage you to keep that in mind with you as you enter more deeply into Advent and toward Christmas. Those are filled with events and opportunities that are low-hanging fruit to bring friends. Please come. As Reverend Stone said at the top of the service, we spared no expense. We rented live teenagers for our nativity. Did you catch that? She says live animals and live teenagers. This year, we're not doing those artificial teenagers. We're bringing the real teenagers. Friends, Christmas Eve is a great time to bring your friends. 5 and 8 o'clock. She loves the 5 o'clock because there is no sermon. So that's the reason why it's her favorite. You pick one you like the most and come and bring your friends. Will you do that, or will you think about doing that for us? Because we want to be renewed this year, don't we? We want to grow. We want to reach out and share the love of Jesus Christ with more people. Is that true? Amen. Would you join your heart with mine in prayer? Take a few breaths just to situate yourself in the sacred pause. Make space for the Spirit to speak to you. God, we have gathered here together in your name, and we ask that you astonish us, surprise us. We confess that we have many expectations for our lives, for how they would go, for how they will unfold and develop, for even how you will engage with us. And we lift those expectations up to you and say, obliterate them, Lord. Obliterate what we expect from you, because we know that you do exceedingly more than we could ever imagine or ask for. God, surprise us. Help us to be people who do not sing old songs only, but put new songs into our heart. Many have read this text before. Many have sang these hymns before, but let them meet us in this moment in a fresh way, in a bold way, that we can go out of these doors in some manner transformed, more like your Son, Jesus Christ. Send your Spirit now in this hour and in this place. And everywhere my voice may be heard, let your will be heard. Let your imagination shape us. Be with us, God. It's in Jesus' holy and precious name we pray, and God's people together say, Amen. Let's try this together. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Why? Don't tell me what the commercials tell you or the sitcoms tell you. Why is this the most wonderful time of the year? Christ has come to us. Thank you. There are many answers that we could offer, some better than others. I'm sorry, you just gave me the best one. But I'm thinking that probably for a lot of us, one reason why this season is so magical is the expectation that was born into us since we were children, that this is a time of gift giving. It is quite lovely, isn't it? Somebody thinks about you, maybe even is inspired by you and goes and finds something for you and puts it in a beautiful package, wraps it lovingly, caringly, places it under a tree. The expectation that this is a season of gift giving and that someone is going to give you a gift is high, and that's exciting. There's also the expectation that we're going to get to give gifts to people and maybe make them smile, that we get the chance to bless someone's day, to think about someone and be inspired by what gift we want to give to them. There was once this little girl, not one of my own, I assure you, but this little girl who I knew well, and I was excited to give her a gift for Christmas. The one thing I really knew about this little girl more than anything is that she loved unicorns. She went through a whole phase of life where everything had to be unicorn themed. The cake for her birthday was a unicorn. Her bedspread was a unicorn or had a unicorn on it. Her pillow had a unicorn. Every plushie and stuffy and ging and whatever, who's a has a got it, what's it, it was a unicorn in her room. Unicorns were on everything. In fact, she also loved two particular colors. She liked teal, blue, and pink, specifically together. And so if you could get her a unicorn that was teal, green, and pink together, it was the greatest thing she'd ever seen. We went Christmas shopping. I sometimes go Christmas shopping the way hunters and gatherers go out looking for food. I go out and club my prey, come home, and I dump it on the floor, and I look to my wife and I go, see what I got? And I look for praise. Well, I was excited the time that I was able to find this new plushie or stuffy or whatever they call them. It was a unicorn. It was in an aisle at Target. I hadn't seen this particular unicorn in our friend's daughter's room before. Oh my gosh, I was excited. And so we bought it and we wrapped it beautifully. For that part, Colleen did it because I wrap like I have no thumbs. And so she made it look beautiful. And we were excited when we were getting together for our gift exchange. And it was time. She was going to open that package, and she did. She opened it like she was just tearing through the papers. She opened that box. Light might as well have gone from the box all over her face. At least that's how I imagined it. She looked, she pulled out the unicorn, and she looked at it, and she says, oh. She puts it down next to her, and I'm sensitive to these kinds of things. So I say, what, don't you like it? Do you already have that unicorn? She goes, well, but you love unicorns, I interrupted her. And she said, well, I used to. Her mom and dad, they go, since when? They were as shocked as I was that she had gone through some enormous change in what she loved the most. My expectation for her delight was upended that morning by her expectation for something else in that box. It's an alarming thing. It's a disorienting thing when our expectations are upended, isn't it? It's even more disorienting when we expect something of someone else based on their passions. When we have someone that we know in our life that's incredibly passionate or on fire with love for something, to find them all of a sudden no longer caring about the thing that they used to care about, that's an odd thing to traverse in our relationships. Which is one reason why I think this passage is such a startling one this morning. It's about John the Baptist, Jesus' cousin, who just last week, when we read of Jesus at the 9 o'clock service, or when we read of John the Baptist there, we read of a guy who was on fire for Jesus. I think that's what the kids would say. He was on fire for Jesus. He was on Team Jesus. He was the first one on Team Jesus. He was this wild man out in the wilderness with a wild message from God to the people, preparing everyone's hearts and minds for who Jesus was to be and what Jesus was to do. He was the hype man for Jesus. And in the passage this morning, he goes from hype man to doubter. Well, you can give him a break. He's found himself in jail. That's what happens in a totalitarian regime when you speak your mind and you critique the powers that be. He had been critiquing this king named Herod, and he's been thrown in jail. And by the time we meet him this week, Wild Man John has been sitting in a jail cell for far too long. And his faith. I'm not saying his faith in God was shaken, or even his belief in his cousin Jesus was shaken, but I am suggesting to you that his circumstances, his consequences, or his situation he didn't expect it. And it doesn't quite fit with his expectations for what Jesus was coming to do in the world. He's in jail. He's in a hard spot. Friends, have you ever been in a hard spot? Have you ever had the dark cloud of suffering come over your life and faith? Did it make your faith stronger, or did it make your faith struggle? There's not really a right way to answer that question. The right way is whatever's true for you. It can do either thing, that's for sure. I know that when I was suffering with the worst parts of my liver disease prior to liver transplantation, there were both moments. I had these moments of profound connection with God. These moments that were so sweet in my relationship with God that, frankly, I sort of missed them. And then there were those moments when just between me and God and the toughness of my situation was such that I would say out loud, God, where are you in all this? I can imagine and understand why John might have grown impatient in jail. And his faith in some way began to waver. He sends his own followers to go to Jesus and say to him, as Jesus is in public teaching, hey Jesus, John just wants to know, are you sure you're the guy? You are the guy, right? The one we've been talking about. It's disorienting to see someone who's so on fire struggle. I remember where I was in 2007 when news hit all the media outlets that the very famous Mother Teresa of Calcutta, that her private correspondence between her and her confessor was being published for the first time. I was at my desk in another church studying, and news hit everywhere. This woman who was so on fire for her faith, on fire for Jesus Christ, went into some of the hardest places to serve in the world, the ghettos of Calcutta, India. And at that time in 2007, no one had a criticism of Mother Teresa. Criticisms came later. But at that time, when you're a young preacher, she was sort of low-hanging fruit. Anytime you wanted to tell people about faithfulness in this world, all you had to say is Mother Teresa. And even the atheists would go, oh yeah. But there I was, reading about how for 40 years, the correspondence between her and her confessor showed that she struggled severely with her faith. I thought to myself as a young preacher, what am I going to do now? How can I ask young people who struggle to believe if a person with this much commitment struggled to believe? The doubt is no doubt disorienting because of the passions. How would Jesus handle this question that John's disciples bring to him? Pretty simply, Jesus' response there is he's in front of the crowds of people, and John's students come and ask that question. Hey, John wants to know, are you the guy? He says, tell John to check my resume. Check my resume. Like the reading we had when we lit the candle this morning, we read about how when God's Messiah comes, there's a reversal of fortune. Jesus says, tell John to pay attention to what I've done, because where I go, blind people can see, deaf people can hear, people who cannot walk get up and walk, the dead are risen, the people with leprosy and skin diseases are healed, and the people who have no pennies in their bank account hear the good news. There's a reversal of fortune as it has been foretold from the ages. Check my resume. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Yeah, it is. That's the reason why sometimes during the week I don't have time to make dinner for the kids. You know, we're out and about and we're so busy that this past week, like you, I found myself figuring out how to get dinner late notice on a Tuesday night. So we found ourselves at the most inexpensive place we could eat. It served hot wings and there was televisions on all the walls. It was Tuesday night, which it also means it's the most wonderful time of the year for Georgia fans because it's the announcement of the college football playoff bracket. And as we were sitting there trying to eat these hot wings, there is one coach after another on the screen shouting. And my son goes, "What is he yelling about, Daddy?" And I tuned in and I paid attention to one coach, I won't say who and from what program, but yelling at the news people, presumably really communicating to the boosters of his school. The communication was this: don't fire me, please don't fire me. You just need to check our resume. It's unfair. We had a stronger strength of schedule. Look at our resume. Our resume stands up. Well, it's like that except for in every other way. Jesus isn't shouting and he's not worried. He very calmly simply says, just look at the resume. What you expect or should expect of the Messiah is true with my word. John's disciples, they take the answer and they're going to go, I guess, back to John and report back. Meanwhile, the crowds are paying attention to all this, and Jesus now has the opportunity to, I don't know, he could correct John in front of everybody, sort of as a warning, you know? Let's correct John in front of everybody so that they know that it's a bad idea to ever doubt me. They need to be taught. John needs to be put in his place so that everyone knows it's a bad idea to doubt me. But he doesn't do that. What Jesus does instead is shows that he is not disappointed with doubt. I'm going to say that again. Jesus shows that he is not disappointed with John's doubting. He instead lets him save face. He asks the crowd, where did you go when you went out into the wilderness? Who did you go to see out there? Did you go out there to see a prophet? I'm going to tell you the truth. You didn't just go see a prophet. You saw the prophet. Jesus says, hashtag real deal. John the Baptist is the real deal. Truth is a life of faith is one where doubt is a constant companion. And you can look through the annals of Christian history to see this. We have Mother Teresa to thank as a recent example of someone who stayed faithful even though belief is hard. In the 19th century, there's a woman named Therese Lisieux who toward the end of her life did not feel God on her deathbed, and she thankfully recovered from that deathbed. And for many people, that would send them into despair, but not for her. She said, God taught me a lesson, so now I can feel solidarity with people for whom belief is hard. There's John of the Cross in the dark night of the soul. There's all sorts of examples in the history of Christianity of spiritual dryness and dark moments and doubt. It's a part of faith. Jesus isn't disappointed in John. But John is the example of doubt this morning, so I guess it's important to ask out loud, why is John doubting? Is it the jail cell? Is it the impatience? Let me suggest to you, it is the dangers of expectation. You see, John the Baptist, all evidence shows, expected that the Messiah would come and help the disenfranchised, that he would lift up the lowly, that he would take in the downtrodden. But mark my words, John did not expect the Messiah to be the downtrodden. I'm going to say it one more time. John expected the Messiah to come and accept the people on the margins. John didn't expect the Messiah to be the person who is on the margins. God showed up in a way that John didn't expect, and because of that, he struggled with belief, albeit for a short moment. I think this John the Baptist moment is a moment that we experience periodically in Christian history. In fact, there's a lot of hubbub in our culture about Christian nationalism, the blending of faith and the homogenizing ideas of faith and our nation state together. And I think it produces terrible things, idolatrous things, but I think it comes from this place, this desire that all of us have as Christians to see the King, God the King. Let God's ways just infect the world, that the laws would reflect God, that every aspect of society would reflect maybe the vision of God that we have. But it's not just collectively. I think we have John the Baptist moments as individuals. I know so many, myself included, who have at one time or another felt that spark, that fire for Jesus. Maybe it's when you came out of the waters of baptism or you accepted a call into some service. Maybe it was the calling that you had to help the unhoused or the people who have cognitive decline or the children on the second floor or to share the gospel with your friend that you met at work or maybe to step in the ministry. And you have been passionate and excited and single-mindedly focused like the wild man John to speak about Jesus everywhere only to come up against a world that is hard and difficult and challenging. And sometimes you look up and say, God, you're not showing up the way I thought you'd show up. You're in the church and you say, God, your people don't really act like I thought your people would act. Be careful. Your expectations are important things, but they're also dangerous things. Our expectations can serve so as to put God in a box, to limit God. And the danger in that is not that you can actually limit God. By putting God in a box, you don't actually limit God, church. You just limit yourself. By putting God in a box, you actually don't limit God. You only limit yourself. What I'm learning from John the Baptist this morning, and I hope you learn it with me, is that part of our faith is an openness to being astonished, to being surprised by God, to being blown away by new ways and different ways that God breaks into our world. God shows up in ways that we never thought of or imagined, in ways that are shocking and surprising, in ways that sometimes we go, God, are you sure that's your best strategy? Sometimes that's where God shows up. And our expectations can stand in the way of catching in on God. If we have a faith that is built on our expectations, it is like trying to be an educated adult human being basing one's life on ChatGPT. Oh, you can know lots of facts and figures because of AI. You can tell me all about the Sistine Chapel because of things you've read online. But will you know what it's like to stand under its ceiling, to smell the smell of the space, to feel the breeze every time the door opens and look at that sublime image, take it into your soul? Friends, open yourselves up this Advent and Christmas season to be astonished by God. If you find yourself too readily having John the Baptist moments, maybe you have God in a little box of your own expectation. Open that package up. And what's inside that package might be a gift that you didn't know you wanted. But you'll find out months from now it was the gift you needed. Have a blessed Advent.